Can you feel the excitement, the anticipation? It's nearly kick-off time in the Sydney Derby as Sydney FC faced Western Sydney Wanderers. First game back at Allianz Stadium for women's football after the biggest show of them all, the FIFA Women's World Cup. So many fans whose passion was ignited by that tournament here tonight, hoping to get a glimpse of their hero, Courtney Vine, hoping to further fuel their love of the beautiful game. We've got the Isuzu Ute tunnel cam there taking a look at the players as they're about to walk out onto a pristine surface here in Sydney. And so much excitement for the mascots there that will get to hold hands and go out onto the pitch. And many of them will be looking up at players not that much older than themselves. This is such an aspirational league. The it could be me factor is off the charts. And so many youngsters around the country are dreaming it could be them in sky blue or red and black in the not too distant future. A really great spectacle tonight. The atmosphere is going to be crazy, especially when Courtney Vine is on the ball. Make sure you're listening out for that. There is a guard of honour, and there's going to be tribute paid to World Cup players in both teams. Courtney Vine is going to be the recipient here of this presentation. And we saw this up in Gosford earlier today for Kaya Simon as well. Courtney Vine, last one out of the tunnel. Let's take in the reception.
This year we witnessed the biggest ever FIFA Women's World Cup, and we'd like to invite two of those World Cup heroes forward. Millie Clegg from the New Zealand Football Ferns, and our very own Courtney Vine from the Matildas. Thank you for inspiring the next generation of footballers and football fans. We're so proud to have you in the Liberty A-League and can't wait for another record-breaking year. City FC Chairman
Fantastic
Scott Barlow will now make the
Vine.
presentation for our very own
He's going to have to very
Vine.
quickly change gears to focus on putting the ball in the back of the net, because that is what has sent her into the stratosphere as far as her fame and profile. To be honest, it couldn't happen to a nicer person. So, handshakes taking place, all part of the pre-game routine that you can come to expect in the Liberty A-League. Let's take a look at how the teams line up. Sydney FC, since last season's successful grand final, bring 4 new faces into the starting 11. Tori Tumeth, Lucy Johnson, and the Queenslander Zara Kruger, all amongst the inclusions, along with Fiona Wirtz, the Dolan medalist, a season removed. Even though a host of players have left overseas, including Charlize Rule, Mackenzie Hawkesby, and Deborah Ann Delaharp, it is still a formidable Sydney FC lineup. Western Sydney Wanderers also a host of changes since they last played back in March. New faces to watch for include Madison McComiskey and Vicky Bruce, a totally new centre-back combination. And it's a debut for India Breyer, the youngster out of the Macarthur Rams, just 17 years of age. You will learn that name over the course of the season, a phenomenal young talent. There is going to be a moment's silence before kick-off. Let's go down with the players and referees and observe it together.
The A-Leagues invites you to join in a moment of silence as we remember the innocent victims in Israel and Gaza. We offer our heartfelt sympathies to the victims, their families, and the communities impacted.
Impeccably observed. There is the Sydney FC manager, Ante Juric. We heard from him in the pre-game show. Very much looking forward to a refreshed and regenerated side. And it's telling that he said he didn't want his own message to get stale, so no doubt he's been thinking about that during the off-season. And just 10 days in charge for Robbie Hooker after more than a decade out of coaching senior women's football. Coming in for Kat Smith, whose contract was terminated on the eve of the season. Tonight's referee is Casey Rybelt. Assistant referee number 1 is Lauren Hargrave. And we have a husband and wife combination. Delphina Shakespeare, the former Delphina Demoski, is the other assistant referee. Fourth official is the husband, Nathan Shakespeare. Wanderers breaking out of their huddle. Allianz Stadium is building to a crescendo. Sophie Harding there leading the line for Western Sydney Wanderers. This is a moment the mini D-Max is on the pitch. They've unleashed the mini D-Max to deliver the ball. It's the last piece of the jigsaw before we kick off this game. Second match of the season for those of you who missed it earlier. It was Newcastle grabbing a 1-0 win against the Central Coast Mariners earlier this afternoon. We might be on for a few more goals tonight. The question is, can Wanderers find them and really take it up to the defending premiers and champions? All in readiness then. And it is a Dolan medalist, Fiona Wirtz, one of the new Sydney FC signings, to get the title defence underway for Sydney FC. Listen to the roar. The Liberty A-League is back at Allianz Stadium, and so is former Matilda Grace Gill. Grace, it's an occasion that everyone around this competition has been anticipating eagerly.
Well, thanks so much, Teo, and what a pleasure to be alongside you tonight. What an occasion off the back of such a successful World Cup and Allianz Stadium. You can already feel the energy in the atmosphere here tonight is excellent.
And it's perfect conditions. It peaked at about 30 degrees during the day. Here's Courtney Vine running at the ball. The fans know where she is. She's unmissable with the red hair and the lightning speed. Can Sydney FC play it to her again here? Tori Tumeth, first A-League women's game back from a knee reconstruction. Huge night and a huge moment for her. And the ball goes out for a Western Sydney Wanderers throw down at left back, and this is Danica Matos, who we heard Catherine Cannulli singing the praises of pre-game, to hurl it down the line. Tumeth. And at the centre of defence, some real confusion, nearly given away by Harrison to Princess Abini. And it's the youngster, Alexia Apostolakis, with a cool head in a crisis to Kush LaRue. And Western Sydney Wanderers, Grace, nearly with a curious pass, giving the ball away in a dangerous area.
Well, unsurprisingly, a fast start from both sides. Good high energy from Sydney FC, but the Wanderers, they won't start this game with the back foot step. Robbie Hooker, he's all about athleticism and pushing forward.
Here's Fiona Wirtz. Passed it to no one in particular, so goes and retrieves it herself. There's a big gap in midfield there. Princess Abini now coming off a career best season, 7 goals last campaign. Can't win a free kick here. Wanderers midfield converge, and it's the little terriers, Bethany Gordon and Amy Cesari, who are biting at the ankles and able to win the ball away.
Well, it's a good midfield combination there for the Wanderers. Beth Gordon, a couple of good seasons, not only in the NPL, but settling into this Wanderers team alongside new signing in Amy Cesari.
Well, Gordon's an interesting example. She was playing in the grand final in New South Wales for Macarthur Rams just 3 weeks ago, so she played all through the winter, off the back of playing all through the summer. And there are those players that just love to keep playing, keep the body ticking over. Other players, like Matos here, opted to have a bit more of a break. Get overseas, enjoy the World Cup, and then come back for pre-season at the A-League level. Here is the aforementioned Gordon. And now Sophie Harding protecting the ball, and there's space here in midfield for Harrison to exploit. Weaving past McLean, now back to Harding. Wanderers on the build. Sophie Harding has to double back. Still eye for goal here. And Kirsty Fenton with the volley away. Harding challenging Tobin, overzealously foul given.
Well, a few questions being asked earlier of Sydney FC's defence. We spoke about in the pre-game Sophie Harding's pace and power, and Nat Tobin's done well just to slow her run down there. few nervy moments for the Sky Blues.
Interesting that both coaches were talking about lack of cohesion, looking to build into the season. Who is going to be the sharper tonight? Kirsty Fenton sees Kush LaRue, takes her on. Plays the ball to Princess Abini, return pass, asking a little bit too much, and it's cleared away by Madison McComiskey, a new wanderer this season, played at Canberra last campaign, and Kirsty Fenton, get used to that, marauding runs down the left flank. Everyone takes a breather ahead of the throw in here. Shea Holman now. Nat Tobin. Long ball, Wirtz making a run. Great commitment from Kaylee Collins. The American goalkeeper got to the ball, not afraid of the physical contact. Lucy Johnson wrapped up in a tackle. And she's first to recover and bounce back up.
And just a couple of scrappy moments there, loose possession. Big coming together between Fiona Wirtz and Kaylee Collins. Kaylee had to come out and commit herself to that one.
Sydney happy to own possession. Wanderers happy to coil up on the counter. Picture in picture there. You see the collision, Grace. It's a credit to both players. They bounced straight back up from it.
It was a solid coming together there. And our first real look at American goalkeeper in Kaylee Collins.
Chisari wants a pass option here on the left. Matos has got to go. You saw Chisari's body language saying, where's the run? It came just a little too late. And it ends up in a throw into Sydney FC. Referee just saying there's a second ball on the pitch. Tumeth, first game for Sydney FC. Actually Sydney born and raised, but moved to Melbourne City to start her career and sadly suffered a torn ACL during the 2022 NPL season, which wiped her out for all of last summer. She spent it at Melbourne City rehabbing, but now comes back in a different colour of blue. Here's Johnson, Princess Abini with a bit of space. Looks up at Apostolakis. Abini goes to work and the touch was a little heavy. McComiskey sweeps it away. Charlotte McLean. Vine is free out on the right side, and that's where the ball is heading. Vine whips in a teasing cross, and the header after the goalkeeper had committed, but Kush LaRue is there to do the cleaning up at the other side of the penalty area.
That's a brilliant ball from Courtney Vine. We've come to get to know that kind of delivery from her, just teasing the goalkeeper out of her position. Unfortunately for the Sky Blues, there wasn't a runner on the end of it, but they're the kind of deliveries we can expect from Courtney Vine time and time again.
She's got a 2-on-1 to deal with here. The youngster on debut, India Breyer. Welcome to the A-League Women's. She won't be overawed by it, though. Just 17 years old. And another of those MacArthur Rams players, fresh off winning a championship at state level. So, makes sense to progress up to the National League. Here's Kush LaRue. Good commitment to the 50-50 ball. And now McComiskey back to Rue. Has to be careful. Fenton was right on her. Fiona Wirtz bides her time, waits for the overlapping run. Fenton trying to duck away from McComiskey. Now Wirtz out of traffic. And Vicky Bruce, one of the other Americans in the Wanderers team. Long ball. Tobin had to deal with it. And now Tumeth has time and space. Wanted the right pass, Tumeth, and goes long. Courtney Vine's made the run over the back. Wirtz waits in the middle. But going to ground, Vicky Bruce puts it out for a corner kick. Sydney's first of the game.
First real look at Vicky Bruce being tested 1v1, and we mentioned pre-game she's an experienced player, 29 years old. She's been all across the world and now plying her trade here in the A-League Women's. She'll have a big night on her hands up against the likes of Courtney Vine.
Taking the corner here is the 16-year-old Zara Kruger. Into the near post, tumbling on. Tobin, who scored in the grand final, and is blocked away by Bethany Gordon. Shea Holman. Wanderers realign their defence. McLean, a hopeful ball. Apostolakis intercepts, but it's straight back to Sydney FC. Grace, we haven't seen much of Amy Chisari or Amy Harrison on the ball yet, and it's just going to keep perpetuating that feeling of Sydney do the attacking, Wanderers do the defending, and there isn't a circuit breaker out there for them just yet.
Not yet 10 minutes in on this game. We're just starting to get a sense that Sydney FC will really dominate possession, and Robbie Hooker will look to have a really organised defensive shape. We're seeing that already. The red and the black just sitting back in, inviting the Sky Blues to come forward.
Interesting that they're happy to be pragmatic. They're happy to bypass the midfield with a long ball, and I guess when you got Ebini on one flank and Vine on the other, why not play them into space?
Interesting too with Robbie Hooker coming in with such a short run-up to try and get his team playing a way that he wants them to. He'll have them organised, as I said, defensively, a defender himself in his career.
There he is, former Socceroo as well. In more recent times, coaching his children's junior teams. Well known to the director of women's football, Tom Samani, at Western Sydney Wanderers. Tori Chimeth has taken almost as many throw-ins as played passes so far as the ball is hugged the near touchline. Fenton plays it back to Tobin. Got to hurry, getting pressed. McLean. Long ball over the top. And Matos heads it away from Vine, albeit at the expense of conceding a corner. Now, we saw last season, Grace, Mackenzie Hawkesby's corners, in fact, for 2 years in a row, had been just a non-stop source of assists. So finding a new set-piece taker is also an underrated challenge that the Sky Blues have got to work through.
Yeah, I really enjoy seeing youngster and Zara Kruger stepping up to take the corners too early on. A lot of trust shown.
Last one was short. This one's right into the mixer. Tobin flew. Fiona Wirtz is there at the back post. Wheels around. And drifts it over the top. Kruger, the corner taker, driving it back across the area. And now the volley. Great save into the nets. Palmed in. And it's a first A-League women's goal for Sydney FC for Kirsty Fenton. Of Sky Blue pressure are rewarded. Just a second goal in this competition, and the first since moving to Sydney, and it's the 20-year-old Fenton who opens the scoring.
On the Harvey Norman replay, it was the youngster Zara Kruger who manufactured that goal. But what about that strike from Kirsty Fenton just outside the 18-yard box? A thunderous strike. It's dropped kindly to her, but she has hit that oh so sweetly.
I thought Collins got there, Grace. She got a big palm on it, but not enough to keep it out.
Kruger did so well to keep this opportunity alive. Fenton, opportunistic just outside the 18-yard box. Kaylee Collins, she's gone with the correct hand. She's picked the right way. But ultimately, that strike has too much pace behind it, and what a finish from Fenton.
A young Matilda who went to the World Cup under-20 in Costa Rica, scored at that tournament, had scored for the Newcastle Jets. Tonight is game number 31 for her. And after rehabbing a minor knee injury in the off-season, she is back and flying in this one. How about the technique? I mean, she's playing at left back, and that was a right-footed strike, Grace.
Excellent, excellent technique from Fenton. And if that's another string she can add to her bow as a defender, being able to score goals like that, open up the account for Sydney FC's season.
So the gauntlet thrown down to Wanderers. Sydney FC do get the early goal. Pile up of bodies here. Foul going Western Sydney's way. Bruce wins it. You saw Collins' reaction in the net as well. When she flew like that, thought that she got enough on it. Here's a replay of Wirtz committing the foul again. It's not a good feeling as a goalkeeper, because onto the fingertips, she might have thought that one was going around the post.
Just hit with such venom. Disappointing start for the US import. A great strike.
Bethany Gordon. Can Wanderers hit back straight away? Fenton this time defending at the other end. Apostolakis. Harrison dispossessed. Kruger plays it to Vine. Vine with half a pitch to work with. Plays the early ball. Wirtz. Vine continues the run through the middle. The crowd rises. Courtney Vine on the tight angle. Puts it into the middle, and Kruger just wide. Nearly And wasn't the crowd riding every touch of the ball there?
Well, it had to be a finish there. It was a great counter-attacking play. Heard the crowd rise as Courtney Vine broke through. And Kruger have been so impressed with her start, not just the set-piece delivery that we mentioned, but her work rate to run and get herself at the end of that. The finish not quite there, but a young player doing great things already for the Sky Blues.
That was a great angle to show just how close it was. Words, did she stay onside here? Contesting with McComiskey. Drake stays down. Matters not. McComiskey won the duel. Sophie Harding with a cause to go and chase, but McLean had first position.
There's a point about Sydney FC that spoke in the midfield, the loss of Mackenzie Hawkesby, Sarah Hunter, how big a task on their hands the likes of Shea Holman, Zara Kruger have. Lucy Johnson too started this game really, really well.
Most teams only played 1 to 2 friendlies, at least that they disclosed. Maybe games against boys teams, maybe internal training matches, but as the league gets longer, this is the longest season ever, 22 games. The amount of time you have to work with before the action gets underway does appear to have been pretty limited this campaign. But Sydney FC, they're looking sharp. Wirtz was lining up from distance. Amy Harrison said, no, you don't. Slight challenge came in. Harrison now. Kush LaRue can't reel that pass in.
An uncharacteristic pass from Amy Harrison, the captain for Western Sydney Wanderers. Such an experienced player and going to be really important, not just for tonight, but for the Wanderers season. Obviously don't have the likes of Claire Hunt at the back anymore, so Amy Harrison's leadership role becomes all the more important.
Lucy Johnson became the first Tasmanian to score a goal in the A-League Women's last season when she was at Newcastle. Born and raised in Tasmania, but has played in Victoria, played in New South Wales, carved out an A-League Women's career. Now finds herself at the defending champions. Holman battling in midfield. Bethany Gordon wins out. And then stepped on the ball at the key moment. McLean. Johnson couldn't reel that pass in. Bouncing ball. Kruger, good awareness. Nabini. Vine is off and running, wheeling around, and Collins slides in, always had best position.
I like the idea there from Lucy Johnson. A really nice pass through the Wanderers' defence. Didn't quite have the depth that the field needed for the likes of Courtney Vine to get onto the end of it. But I like the vision.
Apostolakis. We haven't seen Apostolakis or Matos get forward down these flanks too often for Western Sydney Wanderers. Can they grow into the game? Can Matos push on here? Perhaps for the pass instead. And let's throw it down to the sideline and check in with Glenn Lauder. How's it going, Glenn?
Teo, the atmosphere is fitting of the situation. Sydney FC obviously should be 2-0 up. Every time Courtney Vine gets the ball, the crowd just gets on their feet. And full credit to both the Cove and the RBB because they have brought the heat as well. Incidentally, we've just ticked over 17 minutes. Sydney FC are up 1-0. That marks 650 minutes since the Western Sydney Wanderers last scored against Sydney FC. It was 7 games and 3 minutes ago before kickoff, so we've just ticked over to 650 minutes. It's a long drought.
Hey, Glenn, well, I got you. I know how many days it is, do you, since Wanderers last scored in the derby?
I'll leave it up to you, Teo.
1,394. Let's end it tonight, Glenn. For the sake of the neutrals, let's end it tonight. Western Sydney. Can they make a game of it? They came really close in the last derby of last season. 2-0 loss, but they did hit the woodwork, and it was this player right here on the scene, Kush LaRue, who had that chance. Amy Chisari is getting a talking to here.
There's a real question from the Wanderers season last season too, was where the goals were going to come from. We saw the sign-in last year of Serena Bolden, the Philippines international, a great injection. But the question remains for the Wanderers, where are the goals going to come from this season?
That's over the free kick. Bounces in the area, and it's keeper's ball. Surrounded by sky blue shirts, unable to slay them through. Holman. Abini's a lone hand up top, waiting for support. Vine. Johnson happy to slow things down.
You can see the shape from Western Sydney sitting back in that 4-4-2 block. And they'll pick their time to press, they'll pick their time to nip out and try and apply pressure on the Sky Blues defence. But for now, looking pretty comfortable just to sit back in and invite them forward.
Bruce, right on the case of Abini there. You mentioned how well-travelled Vicky Bruce is. Scotland, Iceland, Cyprus, Sweden, Denmark and Germany. For our younger viewers watching, that's what football can offer to you. It can open up the world. You can put all those stamps in your passport. And the women's game's only going to grow, Grace. There's only going to be more opportunities to play professionally or semi-professionally around the planet.
Exactly right, and beginning here in our very own league, in the A-League, you mentioned before, Teo, first full home and away season, 22 games.
McComiskey, block tackle. What happens next, though? Breyer uses her left foot to try and switch flanks, but Kirsty Fenton, the goal scorer, intercepts and now finds Courtney Vine in space. Vine to the far post, Wirtz heading it back, Johnson's up, now Abini, Kruger, deflections, corner kick coming up. Zara Kruger hunting that first A-League women's goal.
I tell you what, it feels like a goal is coming for Zara Kruger. The work rate is excellent. And that was a smart header back to the centre of the pitch there from Fiona Wirtz. But Kruger yet again gets herself in a good position to get on the end of that loose ball.
Taking corners from both sides here. Zara Kruger drifts this one to the penalty spot. It falls. Wirtz, foul given. Reset in the penalty area for Western Sydney. Zara Kruger, you might be wondering, why would a 17-year-old move from the Brisbane Roar to Sydney FC? She's from Warwick, which is down in southwest Queensland, so it was already a fair old trip to Brisbane. So I guess relocating to Sydney, maybe not that daunting a task, albeit at a very young age.
A big move for a young player to a premiership, championship winning side in Sydney FC, and she's obviously done enough in pre-season to impress upon Ante Juric. She started this game really brightly.
Told from a good source that she's from a pretty good football family. Maybe the A-League men's take note of a brother. That's all I'll say for now. Here's Princess Abini. And Postolakis, a shallow clearance. Fenton able to free the left foot, driving it across. Matos' header. Harrison. And now the shot from Johnson. There were appeals both ways for a handball, but it ends with a goal kick.
Western Sydney just having to absorb a bit of pressure at the moment. Coming from both flanks, from Sydney on the left and on the right too. Kirsty Fenton, she's been lively. There's another look at that strike. Delightful technique behind that, and you can see what it means to the Sky Blue girls. What a start to the season for Fenton.
With Remy Simpson having moved on to Leicester City, is Fenton now the top goal celebrator? What a smile when that hit the back of the net. There are a few good ones around the league, Grace, that love a goal, love a big moment.
Oh, well, credit to them. A well-deserved goal behind a great strike from Fenton.
She's coming up for the corner here. Kaylee Collins must be wondering when the pressure's going to ease up. We're barely a quarter of the way through the night's action. Sydney FC laying siege to the Wanderers' penalty area. Another corner. Comiskey with another header. Kruger. Johnson. Headed by Matos. Tobin pushing up from defence. First touch went straight to Danica Matos. Harding, a lone hand up forward. And Sydney FC have the numbers.
It's good composure there by Tora Timeth as well, and an interesting test for her coming into this Sydney FC backline. A well-established back four for some years now, and it's Charlie's Rule, who, as we know, went overseas to England too, and Timeth has taken her opportunity.
Princess Abini now. Trying to feed it right into the traffic. Fenton up to intercept. Kruger. Now the Englishwoman, Fiona Worts. Charlotte McLean has never scored in the A-League Women's. Now to Courtney Vine. Vine. McLean on a tight angle here, McLean, and presents that one straight to the keeper.
Almost spoke that one into existence, Teo. A good forward run from Charlotte McLean.
It's game 47 tonight, Grace, for Charlotte McLean. Here's Words. Legged, and are we going to see the first card of the game? We are. Straight out of the pocket. And Amy Harrison will have to watch her step from this point forward. It's a dangerous free kick here for the Sky Blues.
Yeah, really dangerous area of the field. A little clumsy from Amy Harrison. Fiona Worts definitely had her step. And this is a great opportunity for Sydney to extend their lead just outside the 18-yard box. Good striking range, good striking distance, and it looks like it will be Courtney Vine standing over top of the ball.
Last season, this probably would have been Sarah Hunter or Mackenzie Hawkesby. Courtney Vine, not known for direct free kicks, so let's see if she's added a string to her bow. It is Vine solo, concentrated, the wall and keeper in place. Great atmosphere rings around the stadium. Are they about to get their Matilda moment? Courtney Vine with the free kick. And a good save as Collins holds on. Plenty of players waiting for a spill.
Really quality save there from Collins. Down low to her left. It's a tricky one to read in amongst that kind of traffic. It cleared the wall, but couldn't clear Collins in goal.
Long ball here. Harding can't quite bring it under control. Had support that time in Breyer. Chisari. Better from the Wanderers. Harrison and Chisari linking up. Trying to keep the ball speed high. On a standing start though. Kush LaRue, Chisari, and it goes out for a throw. It was only a brief little look at the combinations they might be trying to create in the midfield and attacking third.
If the Wanderers can get their foot on the ball in the midfield there, we know the quality of Harrison and Chisari. Just under an immense amount of pressure at the moment, and tend to see in their midfield being bypassed.
As Sydney FC pass the ball around. I can tell you it's 60% possession for Sydney FC, so not overwhelming on that count. Perhaps better indicative. 13 touches the ball in the opposing penalty area to just 1 for Western Sydney Wanderers. Matos prevents number 14 from happening on this occasion though. Holman. Tobin looks up at the press of Rue and Harding, and if Rue is in the middle, it means she's not over on the right for Wanderers, and that means Sydney can exploit the left. Abini. Still Princess Abini! Goalkeeper well positioned.
It's a nice clean grab there from Collins. This is what we know Abini can do so well. Just a little drop of the shoulder, you see it there just to her right, drives in. She's got great pace. She's scored some excellent goals from that very run over the years.
We're coming up on 7 years since Princess Abini made her national team debut. She has 8 caps, Grace. So going at a tick over 1 cap per year. It's time to make the jump. It's time to become a permanent member of that team, or at least have a season that asks the question a bit more sternly. Big challenge from Holman, and this could be a card as well. Holman's gone in on Kush LaRue. You see the impact it's had. Yellow card, not a surprise on this occasion. Replay will be an interesting watch here, because Rue was absolutely flattered by that tackle.
Kush LaRue looks to be in a fair bit of pain there, which we don't like to see. Yeah, that's a fairly reckless challenge there from Holman. She's come in. It's almost a little like studs raised, and perhaps the pain we're seeing from Kush LaRue still on the deck now.
No VAR in the A-League Women's, so referee's decision is final. It's 1 yellow card each now. Let's go down to Glenn Lauder on the sideline while we have this little interval.
Yeah, it is obviously a great opportunity for Ante Juric and Robbie Hooker just to get their teams over and reassess where they are through the first half an hour. Robbie Hooker in particular, he spoke a lot to Sophie Harding in the first few seconds of this team chat. Sophie Harding, I get the feeling, has looked a little frustrated at maybe being a bit isolated. You mentioned obviously earlier in the game that Western Sydney were looking to bypass their midfield and try to find the target player. She obviously has been managed very well by Sydney FC, and obviously Western Sydney are under a new coach, so it's going to take them a little time to get in the game. But Robbie Hooker is really enjoying, I think, this opportunity to be able to just reset, have a chat to his players and calm them down. He's being very methodical. There's no screaming. Sydney FC are already back out on the field. They're ready to go. But as Kush LaRue remains on the ground, Robbie Hooker is continuing to lay down the law to his players and just make sure that they all get back on the same page, because obviously they've had to do a lot of defending in this first half an hour, Teo, and there's still a lot more football left. I'll keep you updated as to Kush LaRue's condition as we go along.
Thank you, Glenn. Yes, hopefully the appearance of some tape and a drink means she's going to be able to continue under her own steam. She's a country girl, Kush LaRue from Bathurst. She's tough. She won't want to come off. But Grace, just on the technical point that Glenn raised there, Harding, Rue and Breyer, the front three, I'm not sure they've played a pass between each other, which is probably indicative of, if you're relying on Sophie Harding to hold up the ball, one of your wingers has to be at close range in support to actually play off.
Whether it's a winger, whether it's the number 10 just looking to drop the ball in underneath Sophie Harding. If I can read the instruction well enough from Robbie Hooker, it looked as though he was encouraging Sophie Harding just to stay, to hold her shape, not to nip out. But you can see when Kush LaRue goes, the rest of the Western Sydney Wanderers go as well.
I wonder if that little break might mark the having weathered the storm here for Western Sydney Wanderers. We might see a little shift in momentum now. They have been under the pump for a solid half hour, but the damage is only 1 goal. Maybe that is a sign of encouragement for those in red and black. Just a reminder, they haven't scored in a Sydney derby since December 2019, but Amy Harrison was one of the players that scored that day, so they have someone who's been there and done it.
Fair to say Jada Wyman has had a very quiet opening part of this game. Hasn't seen much of the ball at all.
There is Jada Wyman. Still waiting for that first Matildas cap. Has been in the squad umpteen times, but not called up for the recent Olympic qualifying tournament. The 3 World Cup goalkeepers all keeping their gloves. Fenton here, trying to deal with Chisari and Gordon, and now Tumeth, a cool head. Holman, now on a yellow card. It's always a learning experience. Shay Holman plays like a much older player than 18 years of age. It's game number 18 for her tonight, Grace, and she already starts to feel like she's just a fixture in this league and in the Sydney midfield.
Well, she really struggled to break into the team last year, because as we mentioned, there was Mackenzie Hawkesby, Sarah Hunter. But she's started this game really brightly. She's looked composed. She's looked unflappable in the middle of the park there.
Maybe that tackle that got the yellow was the sort that was required in the backyard, with two brothers that have gone on to also currently play in the Isuzu Ute A-League men's.
It's a pretty impressive footballing family, that one.
Briar's header goes straight to Fiona Wirtz. Holds off Bruce. Princess Abini is making space out on the left, and Kirsty Fenton will go there now. Abini, we've seen a couple of weaving runs already. This time feeds it through to Fenton. The cutback, not on this time. Madison McComiskey working overtime, but has not lowered her colours so far through 34 minutes. It's another corner kick.
McComiskey up to task on that occasion. She had to be too. Another good run, inverted run there from Kirsty Fenton, who's continued to look dangerous.
Fifth corner of the night coming up here for Sydney FC. Kruger to the penalty spot. Tumeth. No real power behind the header. Kruger again. Cross on the turn, a little narrow. Lead away by Matos. Holman, you saw the power behind the pass, but Matos in the right spot once more. Chisari, Gordon. Wanderers midfield starting to combine. Sophie Harding has broken wide on the left, and she will take on Charlotte McLean. Harding looking to build ahead of steam, goes for a curler. It had no curl, but better signs for Western Sydney.
Well, that's where Sophie Harding's more effective. She has a bit of space in front of her. She had the opportunity to look up, to drive towards McLean, make her make a decision. On that occasion, didn't quite get the whip she would have liked on that strike. She can shoot from distance. She does have that ability, Sophie Harding.
4 goals in what is game number 44 for Sophie Harding, but perhaps being thrust into that burden of responsibility might help lift the strike rate. Don't forget, it is a long season this season. Plenty of time to start slow and build up. Here's Fiona Wirtz with a dink! It's an introductory goal for Fiona Wirtz! Welcome to Sydney FC! Smiles all round on the pitch in the stands as the Sky Blues take a 2-0 lead in this Sydney derby.
Well, wasn't that a cool, collected finish from Fiona Wirtz on the Harvey Norman replay? A perfect run off the shoulder of her defender. A deft touch. A couple of appeals for offside from the Wanderers girls. But that's so clever from Fiona Wirtz. We know her goal-scoring prowl West when she's on mark, and that one is well and truly on the mark.
Well, were they shouting for offside or a handball? It doesn't matter. That looked like a pretty clean first-time strike. And Fiona Wirtz, 18 goals at Adelaide, a Dolan medal, a golden boot, and now a goal in her first showing for Sydney FC. Moving to Australia, the best thing she did for her career. She has introduced herself to this new fan base with a beautiful goal.
I actually think that's a really important finish from Fiona Wirtz, not just for the game tonight, and giving the Sky Blues a little bit more of a buffer, but for her mentally.
Well, do you know why? All 3 goals she scored in a bit of a down year last year were headers. It's the first goal she scored with her feet in over a season, Grace.
It's so important for a striker to get off the mark like that. As I mentioned, a really clever finish.
Wanderers in a 2-0 hole. Harding still working. Can she show the speed here? Has got 2 defenders to deal with, though. Tumeth able to wrap her up and take away the ball. And now Holman's the outlet. Sydney FC looking to counter. There's Courtney Vine. Not motoring on this occasion as Wanderers cool everything down.
Smart defending there from Sydney. McLean needed a little bit of support and had it in Tumeth coming across to provide some cover.
McLean, a deflection here. Now Tobin called into action. There's no nonsense defending, punting it out to the Sydney FC bench. blown away by how the Cove, the RBB, just the general ambient in general has kept the buzz going. We know that tomorrow afternoon, Melbourne Victory playing their first home game at the home of the Matildas against Brisbane Roar has been sold out. This is the new Liberty A-League, Grace. Get used to it.
Oh, this is brilliant. You love to see it, and to hear of a sellout, the home of the Matildas. What a game that will be. What a great fixture as well.
5,700 at Industry Group Stadium in Gosford as well earlier today for the season opener. Fans flocking to the Liberty A-League. Here's McComiskey, about as far forward as we've seen the defender today. Apostolakis looking to show us what she can do down the right flank. Chisari. Gordon, back to Amy Chisari. Now Harding. Couldn't quite connect with Breyer over on the left.
Much better build-up, you've got to say, from the Wanderers, though. They look comfortable in their attacking half. Just connect that final piece of the puzzle. The pass from Sophie Harding just getting cut out. That's better combination play, and I'm sure they'll be looking just to get the ball a little bit more to their feet. Settle in with some comfortable possession, because at the moment, it's really Sydney FC who are controlling the possession.
Quick look at the bench. Are we going to see Mel Caceres in the second half? She's a very natural number 10, fantastic creative player. Obviously runs the risk of creating two isolated players, but I would think if you're going to take a risk, maybe risk losing by more to try and grab some goals back, she might be the answer.
I know Mel Caceres, a really handy creative player.
Stay with this attack because Lucy Johnson is lining up a long shot, and Vicky Bruce, body on the line, made the block and now repels. Long over the top. Nat Tobin read it best in the air. Here's Fenton. Able to breeze past Bruce. Looks up at Rue. And took on one player too many, but refused to lose the ball. And that's the hunger and the desire that Sydney FC are showing. No complacency, up 2-0 at the moment. Fiona Works. Here's Kruger. Flips it out to Courtney Vine. Vine with a drive! And that is the quality of Kaylee Collins. A necessary save to deny Courtney Vine a goal on opening night.
Yeah, top save there from Collins. This combination play from Sydney FC looking really dangerous. The release pass from Kruger to find Vine was the highlight in that passage for me. Strong hand from Collins, had to be as well.
Half a dozen corners in the first half for Sydney FC. Kruger bending it in. McComiskey. We've said it all night. Up for the defensive header. But Sydney FC get the second ball. And they remain on the attack. Vine using her strength. A deflection for Works. Where the placement was perfect last time. This one just bent the wrong way. But Wanderers will still be trapped deep in their defence.
Sydney did well on that occasion just to keep the attack alive.
Tori Timeth. Looks like she hasn't missed a step after missing all of last season injured. Kruger. Tough in traffic that time. Of course, if you're wondering why Shay Connors, the Sydney FC signing, isn't out there tonight, she actually played as a replacement player during the Women's World Cup for the San Diego Wave. Got to make her NWSL debut, but unfortunately for Sydney, the international clearance hasn't come through for her. And given how long ago that game was, it's as though someone accidentally deleted an email or lost a bit of paperwork somewhere along the international telephone line. But hopefully she'll be back soon, because she was another of the big-name recruits that Sydney FC picked up. And I think from her point of view, she won't be thrilled that the strikers are looking good. She's going to have to fight for a spot in the team. Here's young Kruger, turning it into the middle for Abini. Works just flat-footed on that occasion, maybe not expecting the pass. And when Ante Juric spoke about cohesion in pre-game, that's exactly the sort of phase of play he was referring to.
Just not quite on the same page there, but you're right, Teo. It's a shame for Shay Connors that she couldn't be part of tonight's match squad. I'm sure she would have been vying for that starting spot. We know that she finished a season last year with Brisbane Roar really well, in really good form, and no doubt is going to want to carry that into the sky blue shirt.
Gordon's flick header on, Tobin. And to no one in particular this time, but that, again, the hunger to win the ball, to go and chase. Make sure that you don't give away possession cheaply. Abini on this occasion. Fenton now. Onto that right side. A driving crossfield pass. Fine, flag up. And it's cheers then groans around Allianz Stadium.
Oh, it was a brilliant ball from Fenton to pick Courtney Vine out on that switch play. It's been reasonably close as well, but just how quickly can turn around when Vine just hangs out in that space and looks for the release pass. Well, we know what she can do in those kind of moments.
With Matos. Gordon forced backwards to Bruce. Wanderers starting to commit some numbers forward now. The touch just wasn't quite there from Bryant. Chimeth looking to move it quickly. Wertz was isolated 1-on-4 though. As we tick down to the holding up of the board, the amount of stoppage time we'll play at the end of the first half. Don't forget we had the injury to Kush LaRue, and that contributes to 4 additional minutes at the end of this first half. Wanderers stringing some passes together. And they go into the rooms on a high. They halve the deficit. Bethany Gordon. Here is Rue. Doesn't want to take on Fenton. Now Bruce. Matos. We called for it. The wing-backs are starting to push up for Western Sydney, starting to take the game on. Comiskey, decision time. Apostolakis. And now Fenton jumps the pass, and Sydney FC win it back. So it was a long string of passes, but ultimately never quite had the dare to get any further forward.
Just a bit of controlled possession by Western Sydney, but didn't really find that release ball through. Players perhaps a little isolated. I'm sure it's going to be a big half-time talk from Robbie Hooker with the Western Sydney girls about how they approach the second 45 minutes. They really look to create a few more meaningful chances.
Vine really stretching the defensive line again here against Matos, and Matos with no choice but to knock it behind for a corner kick.
I know Vine is quick, but Matos just showing her pace as well. She did really well to keep in step with Courtney Vine there. See it out for a corner. This is a good chance for Sydney just late in this first half to swing another ball in from the corner.
Madison McComiskey has been reading these corners like a book, but it's the second ball which causes all sorts of trouble. Will Zara Kruger mix it up? In it goes. Goalkeeper's turn. Gordon doesn't quite get the clearance away. Johnson didn't know that Breyer was coming from the blind side, but McLean will consolidate. And Wertz this time making space. Sydney have stretched the field wide so well in this first half. Wertz now, ball glued to her feet. Still going Wertz. Finds a gap. And wins a corner kick.
That was a good driving run by Wertz, but McComiskey again, she's been busy in this opening half. She's been up to task on a few occasions now, and it will be Kruger again who runs over to this corner.
Look at that corner count, 8-0 in the first half. So a couple of corners in quick succession. McComiskey, header again. Bruce clears the second ball. Starting to get a rhythm to it. Some of these Wanderers players, Grace, are going to walk off at half-time exhausted, feeling like they've played 2 games, not just one half.
Done a lot of running, a lot of defending. Just tried to hold their shape, but they have had to absorb a lot of pressure in this first 45 minutes, the Wanderers.
I have to say, Madison McComiskey has been impressive. She debuted for Canberra last season, but then missed most of the season after just 6 games, suffering a non-ACL knee injury. Was able to come back and play NPL well enough, but I can only imagine Canberra might have made the top 4 had she not got hurt. Here she is again on defensive duty. And that's the sort of thing that Wanderers fans watching on, desperately hoping for a goal, can at least take as one of the positives out of this half. They've made a shrewd recruit here. There's still defending to be done before the first half is over. Not much, though, because that takes us to the break. Kirsty Fenton got Sydney FC's title defence off to a spectacular start with a brilliant strike. And Fiona Wirtz has announced herself to the Sky Blue family with a goal of her own. Half-time at Allianz Stadium, it's Sydney FC 2, Western Sydney Wanderers 0. Stay with us on 10 Play, 10 Bold and Paramount Plus. We'll be back with the halftime show right after this break. What that Brains Trust is coming up with as a plan for the second half. Wanderers yet to appear out of the sheds. Sydney FC have well and truly won the race back out onto the pitch here. What sort of a statement do they want to make on the opening weekend? And the other burning question is, will the attendance record at a Liberty A-League game fall tonight? There's Princess Abini, had a very promising first half, including the assist for the second goal, which bounced into the path of Fiona Wirtz. We did mention just the 8 Matildas caps, even though she debuted for the Matildas as a teenager. And Fiona Wirtz, another year in Australia, but very, very much an English woman. There's never been too much clamour to naturalise her. Speaking of imports, Kaylee Collins, what a baptism of fire for her in the first half. And we flagged this. Mel Caceres, the talented playmaker from the MacArthur Rams, made her A-League Women's debut last season as a mature age recruit. And it looks as though she is going to be the sub. The 27-year-old coming on for what is just her 11th appearance. She did have some soft tissue injury troubles last season. And she's coming on for the debutant India Breyer, who wasn't quite able to make the impact she would have hoped for in the first 45 minutes. But that's the one change at half-time. Caceres on. And let's see if her close control and creative passing can bring a new dimension to this Western Sydney Wanderers midfield. It's Wanderers to take kick-off at the start of the second half in a 2-0 hole here in the Sydney Derby, second game of the Liberty A-League season. But they've got 45 minutes to do something about it. Sydney FC have 45 more minutes to try and close out a win on the opening night. And immediately, Caceres commits a foul. And she's going to get a talking to here from Casey Rybelt. The last thing she would have wanted to do is come on and get booked straight away, as Grace Gill, former Matilda, rejoins me in commentary.
Well, that was a pretty agricultural challenge immediately from Caceres. And Lucy Johnson, I thought she had an excellent first half, really controlled the midfield alongside Kruger and Holman, but those ones do hurt.
It's perhaps a little bit generous to the sub there. I think it's a yellow card for any other player on the pitch. Casey Rybelt showing a bit of discretion, only lifted the yellow card twice in the first half. Here's Kush LaRue trying to curve out of a jam and play a pass, but it's immediately swept upon by Tobin. And now Lucy Johnson switching flanks to Courtney Vine. Vine with the early ball. Tumeth onto the head of McComiskey. Princess Abini now in a battle. Caceres, Wiley, clever. And now Amy Harrison gives possession away. Kruger straight back to Harrison, who gets a second chance. Now Cesari with it all to do. It's never great body language from a midfielder when they lift out the arms and say, where are my options?
You can imagine, amongst other things, the conversation at halftime for the Wanderers would have been about being more aggressive on the ball, showing for the ball, providing their teammates an option. Because certainly in the first half, they looked a little void of some easy passes, some easy outlets.
Wirtz turning at the edge of the box. This is where Wirtz can be so dangerous. Lucy Johnson sees a wall of red and black. Fenton. And now Ibini against Apostolakis. Ibini hits the byline. Apostolakis timed for the slide challenge well, but it's going to bring up corner number 9 of the game for Sydney FC.
Apostolakis had to make the challenge, timed it really well. Ibini had a lively 45 minutes, and again it will be the youngster in Zara Kruger, who I was really impressed with in that first 45.
Kruger's corner. High to the far post this time. Collins able to control it on one bounce. So you see the graphic at the bottom of your screen running through the lineup. Sydney FC goals in the first half to Kirsty Fenton and Fiona Wirtz. And Fenton winning the header right here. Ibini. Sock Kruger into a 1-on-2. Caceres. Harrison hurried in the pass. And Caceres has done well to keep it in. Now she goes to work and wins a foul of her own. Taken quickly, clever by Harrison. Vicky Bruce. The early ball, element of surprise. It's back at the feet of Caceres after all that. Harrison. Rue. And now Caceres. Apostolakis and Kush LaRue driving across Kush LaRue. And it sits up at Bethany Gordon. Was that a handball? The referee had a good hard look, and Tori Tumeth boots it away to the safety of the touchline.
Well, no doubt that's the Wanderers' best chance of the game so far. There's the appeal. It's a bit hard to tell from the side of things, but it looks like it's hit the stomach more so of Tumeth there.
I think it's hit both. I think it's hit chest first. We'll stay with live play. Referee's decision is final. No VAR and no foul here for Sophie Harding. That amounted to a basketball charge in the end. And there's a player down. Let's throw it down to Glenn Lauder on the sideline with a special guest.
Teo, I've got Tom Samani, Western Sydney Wanderers assistant coach. Tom, first of all, what do you make of that incident there?
Well, actually, it looked a bit like a handball. I don't know if we've got VAR at the game and if they're going to have a look and review it. But, yeah, it'd be interesting to see it again.
Yeah, we understand it's already... well, it's not going to happen. We're going to move on and have a look at the injury now. Obviously, a break in play for you guys to reassess 5 minutes into the second half. You made the change at half-time. What was the mood like in the camp at the break?
Well, obviously, players are a little bit disappointed. I think we've been obviously a bit off the pace at the moment. I think our preparation hasn't been quite up to speed, and we're probably a couple of games away from being where we should be. But as long as we hang in there, 2-0, if we can get a goal back, we're right back in the game.
I guess even though those decisions don't go your way, it's an indication that you're starting to make inroads.
Yeah, well, they've made a positive start in the second half. With an effort at goal there, we've had a little bit of the play. We've got into the opposition half, so hopefully we can continue.
Well, I know the Brains Trust was chatting just before we spoke to you as well. I'll let you get back to Robbie, and good luck for the second half.
Thanks very much.
And thank you to Glenn Lauder and Tom Samani. And Grace, I think those replays showed that if we did have VAR, Casey Reibelt made a very good decision.
Yep, spot on. That one had hit the trunk of Tori Tumeth. And Nat Tobin looks to be in a fair bit of distress here, which you never like to see.
Yeah, it's hard to assess exactly what it was, but let's have another look at the replay here. So, is it the right knee, the right ankle? Let's see if this angle tells us a bit more. Could it just be knee-on-knee impact to the right knee there?
Oh, she's definitely clutched that right knee straight away. I wonder if it's really heavy.
Oh, she's in distress. This is quite worrying for Sydney FC because it looked so innocuous, but I guess if it's an impact, you very rarely do an ACL from an impact injury. That could be a PCL or an MCL or a patella or something like that.
You don't want to talk about the dreaded ACL, and Nat Tobin's so important to this Sydney FC side, not just as the captain of this team, but her leadership qualities, the presence, the calming presence she brings at the back, and really awful to see her in that kind of pain.
Well, not least because Sydney FC didn't really name a defender on the bench. They're getting Abby Lemon, who we've only ever seen play as a winger in this league, so they're going to have to shuffle the pack here. Their bench was Sienna Silvesca, 18 Keane, Abby Lemon and Taylor Ray of the outfielders. They definitely didn't have a recognised defender named among the subs, but Nat Tobin, tonight is her 100th A-League women's game. It's her 101st competitive appearance for Sydney FC, and she's leaving in tears on a stretcher, Grace, and this is a really heartbreaking moment for one of the best people and one of the best servants that this competition has seen.
Oh, she's a much-loved player, much-loved person. As I mentioned, so important to Sydney FC's team, the defence, her leadership and composure, and you really hate to see a player go down injured.
Abby Lemon got 7 appearances in the A-League Women's last season, but really fell out of favour in the back half of the campaign when Indiana Dos Santos came into her own and ultimately started in the grand final. Siante Juric there getting across to give support to the captain, Nat Tobin, and we can only hope that the medical assessment comes back with good news and that Nat Tobin will be back up and firing. But for now, watch this space. Abby Lemon is on. Chance to make an impact. That's the last thing. A bit of a destabilising effect for Sydney FC here to lose their captain at the start of the second half.
Yes, it certainly is, and we'll have a look as well to see how this formation shakes out. First glance looks as though Tori Tumeth has shuffled into a central position as a centre half, and perhaps Abby Lemon as that right wing back, but we'll see in just a moment how this shapes out.
So the Western Sydney Wanderers, it's up to them to try and make the pace, because if Sydney FC sit back on their 2-0 lead, will Wanderers have the quality to carve through them? Not that I'm suggesting Sydney would, Grace, because they're a pretty aggressive team.
Well, they definitely have the quality and the depth, Sydney FC, but Abby Lemon coming on as a right back, if not just the unsettling nature of seeing a teammate go down in that kind of fashion, you really don't like to see it. But as Tommy Samani mentioned, if Western Sydney can peg a goal back, this game is well and truly alive.
And the press is on here. Tumeth so good at just assessing the space and knowing how much time she has on the ball. This is no exception, but the pass leaves a bit on it, and that's allowed McComiskey to drive it straight back down into attack. Now Tumeth is down for Sydney FC. Flag is up. Tori Tumeth, this is her first A-League Women's game back from the dreaded ACL, and she's now in a bit of pain. But the fact she's being stretched out is a relief to all and sundry, because that suggests it's just cramp.
Looked like she landed a little awkwardly and just clutched to the calf straight away, which you hope, to the relief of Tumeth and to all of us watching on, that it is just cramp and nothing more sinister.
It is tough, though. Didn't play at all in the NPL season either, so this is the first full competitive game for points in a year and a half or so for Tori Tumeth. Robbie Hooker really gesticulating to his winger, Kush LaRue, on the sideline, that's now going to be attacking this right side of the pitch, while Sydney FC are temporarily down to 10 players.
Sabini might drop in to do a little bit of defensive work. A really unsettled few minutes for the Sky Blues.
Harrison didn't see Kruger coming from the blind side. Still going to be a Wanderers throw. That's still being assessed, but looks like a return is not too far away, but it's still a power play situation for now for Wanderers. 11 versus 10. Let's see if they can make the most of it. Rue to Harding. Looking up at a Beanie now. Recast as a defender. And Fenton concedes the first corner of the night for Western Sydney Wanderers.
Well, a great moment for Western Sydney to capitalise here. Good driving run from Sophie Harding. Fenton had to be up to task.
See the corner count, 9-1. Wanderers with a player advantage. Tobin and Tumeth off the pitch, and Alexia Apostolakis is the corner taker. Big moment in the game for Western Sydney. Apostolakis with a driving corner, and Charlotte McLean won the header. Here's Caceres taking on Wirtz. Deflection, sits up. Wyman calls for the ball. Wyman collects.
That's really assertive play there by Jada Wyman. Just come out confidently, released early, and Courtney Vine in space.
And here is Courtney Vine. Plays the pass early. Lemon. Sydney FC throw. Tumeth is back on. Full complement of 11 restored for Sydney FC. Vine bumped off the ball. Chisari. McLean. Now Charlotte McLean is down, winning a free kick. So a physical start to the second half.
That's a little bit too much left in on that challenge.
McLean steps up and takes the free kick. Headed away by Matos. Vine. Takes a high deflection, landing awkwardly on the goal line. Batted away. Abini follows up, but it was always going to be difficult on a tight angle with so many bodies in the way.
Oh, that's such an awkward one for Kaylee Collins to deal with. Coming down from that kind of height. No doubt not the delivery Courtney Vine was looking for, but nonetheless puts the keeper in a really awkward position.
Harding centre. High ball for Bruce. Vine was clever, just waited at the fall of the ball. And plays it early here, hoping for Wirtz. Cleared away by Matos.
It looks as though with that reshuffle, seeing Nat Tobin go off, that perhaps Sydney FC have gone to a 3 at the back, pushing Abby Lemon on, and Tori Tumeth tucking into the central position with Kirsty Fenton and Charlotte McLean flanking either side of her.
Harrison turned into trouble, but still found Harding. And Sophie Harding can turn and go. Still Harding, trying to burst into space, and Tumeth back to full ability there as she timed the slide tackle to perfection.
It's always a test when you come back on from cramp in your calves, if you can keep up with the stride of Sophie Harding, and Tumeth has timed that tackle to perfection. Had to as well. Harding had crept into the 18-yard box. It was a dangerous territory.
So as we approach the hour mark, Aideen Keane has been set to go and warm up for Sydney FC. Former Wanderer, spent a couple of seasons in Perth, missed last season with a torn ACL. Here's Harrison shooting from distance, and that's catching practice for Jada Wyman. And Wanderers have sent the remainder of their bench to warm up, but there's Aideen Keane. Fantastic young player, scored 2 goals for Perth Glory in the 21-22 season, and then cruelly that injury she suffered, she almost certainly would have been starting for the young Matildas at the World Cup in Costa Rica, and was really primed to have her breakout in the A-League Women's too, and has now had to go and forge the long road back on knee reco rehab.
I'm really excited to see Aideen Keane return to A-League Women's football, see what she can do with this Sydney FC side. She's got good pace about her, a technical player, smart as well.
Just another string to the bow of this Sydney FC team. Spoiled for choice on the bench. Right now, though, they're being made to do a lot more defending than they were in the first half. Here's Caceres. Around Tumeth, albeit with a bit of bluster, and wins a free kick in shooting range here. It's going to be a tight angle, but this is a dangerous set-piece opportunity, and that's what Mel Caceres can do.
A little bit of confusion about where the foul came from. The Sydney girls were wondering if it was going the other way, but you've got to say Mel Caceres has made some difference since coming on in this second half. Really busy, making a nuisance of herself in that midfield, but we mentioned her creativity, and she's proven that.
Amy Harrison, who is a right footer, is lining this up. So even though there's 4 in the wall, imagine this is heading towards the pack of players rather than the target. Harrison with the free kick. Off the wall. Ambitious shouts for handball, as though they were tucked up against the body on that occasion. Anthony Gordon, real scrap and battle for possession here. Once again, volleying on. Fenton with the header away. Vine's volley will get it out of the mess, albeit out for a throw.
It's frantic there for a moment or two. Harrison, no doubt, would be a little frustrated with the delivery. You could see what she was trying to do, just clear the wall, but came off the side of Fenton, I think it was.
This is going to deflect on kindly for Wanderers here. Create a bit of confusion. Bethany Gordon comes in, body checked, and the Wanderers fans are certainly outnumbered, but you heard them call for a penalty kick, and the referee's going to stop play, but the decision definitely is not a foul. Bethany Gordon is down. It's a blow to the face, it seems.
There's almost a moment of confusion between Jada Wyman and Charlotte McLean. I think Wyman, as a goalkeeper, she's come through to collect, and at the last moment McLean has cleared.
Any case for a penalty there, Grace?
Look, I don't think so. I think Wyman's travelling with a little too much velocity at that point to sort of pull out of the challenge in which she thought she was going to collect the ball. Really difficult seeing Beth Gordon go down like that. She looks to be okay, back up on her feet. Fortunately, nothing too much worse from that challenge.
So after treatment is administered, Gordon is all right to continue. About to see mass activity on the two benches, though. Wanderers have definitely brought this game back to an arm wrestle, but they're hardly overwhelming Sydney FC with attacking chances, and they take that next step. Chisari, Rue, neat build up here with Caceres. Now the run from Apostolakis. Apostolakis with a bending cross. Jumeth's header away, and it was all Sydney FC at the fall of the ball. Gordon back up and running. Clever pass. Harding. Holman did well to stop the forward progress. Harding still though. Komisky's pass to Chisari, and now Apostolakis out in space. Let's hear Apostolakis taking on Princess Abini. A shallow cross and dealt with by Jumeth. Now Matos. It's Abby Lemon's turn to clear away.
They still look in control. Sydney FC don't quite have the composure that we saw in that first half. And Western Sydney showing a much improved second half so far. A bit more energy, a bit more impost about what they're trying to do.
Caceres clever, and now Kush LaRue has got some space. Rue wrapped up by Charlotte McLean. And that tackle was quite necessary, otherwise it would have been a Wanderers 2-on-1. We're going to see the sub here, so it's a great moment for Aideen Keane. She returns to Liberty A-League action, the 21-year-old, and she's coming on for Fiona Words, who does have a goal to her name, and it's this goal from the first half.
And it was a really clever goal. Smart glance over the shoulder. She knew where the goalkeeper was, knew where her defender was. For Fiona Words, so important to get off the mark, but what a moment for Aideen Keane. Really pleased to see her back out on the field.
Gordon, great defending from the front. He's trying to create that heightened level of tension in the Sydney defence. Lemon. Matos wants it down. Caceres, so clever. What a touch. And now Sophie Harding. No real power behind the shot, though. And 3 Sydney defenders to deal with. Harrison storming through. And then not any bend on the cross. Just harmlessly out for a goal kick. But signs here for Western Sydney. They have very much stuck to the task of chasing this game in the second 45.
Definitely moments. We're seeing more and more moments from the Wanderers. Mel Caceres, for me, has really set this second half alight. There's that little sneaky around the corner pass. She's really aware of her positioning in space. I've got to say the Wanderers have spent a lot more time in their attacking half than they did in the first 45 minutes.
It's reflected by 13 entries into the final third to 8. So very much winning the territory game. Now it's about the execution. And Grace, that final pass, those decisions that you have to make, if it's a pass across, a shot, or taking your opponent on, that's what separates teams that win from teams that don't.
Just those moments of quality, little finesse. An awkward challenge there between Kush LaRue and Abini.
But Wanderers remain firmly in possession. Bruce. Put away by Lemon. What about Ante Juric? Does he make a change? Is he satisfied enough that his team has got enough control of the game at the 2-0 scoreline, if not general play at the moment? We'll come back to that because Bethany Gordon is offside.
I think fair to say the change from Abby Lemon coming on for Nat Tobin was not one that Ante Juric anticipated. Whether or not he looks to bring on a settler just to try and regain that composure. Certainly feels as though without Nat Tobin on the field, some of that level-headedness is slightly gonna miss.
Certainly long-term, Sydney FC only really have one recognised defender in their players announced, at least, that didn't play today, and that's Margot Chevet, another former Wanderer who's returning to the league after a season out. Here's Harrison. Caceres. Now Kush LaRue. It's Rue behind for a corner.
Again, Wanderers looking really promising. Starting to create more and more. Rue's been lively this half as well. Been able to stride out, stretch her legs a bit, but the combination between Harrison and Caceres, and how about that through ball from Caceres? She's really got such an eye, the vision for that release pass was lovely.
Wanderers fans providing some noise, trying to urge their team to score into the net. They are standing behind. Postolakis with the corner. And the header from Harding is wide. It doesn't trouble Jada Wyman.
Harding peeled off really well to meet that. Couldn't quite redirect the header.
It's Robbie Hooker facing his technical area. Given away here. Harding, first time shot. And Jada Wyman meaningfully called into action. Able to pluck the save out of the sky.
I spoke about how quiet a half Jada Wyman had in the first 45 minutes, but a lot more to do about it in this second half. It was the right decision from Sophie Harding to hit that first time. Doesn't trouble Wyman.
And another midfield giveaway here. Rue, cross, won't dip, miss hit, goal kick. Let's go down to Glenn Lauder on the sidelines. Glenn, you've got an important update for us. Through ball again. Rue. Able to get past Fenton, but retreats back to Apostolakis. Now Caceres. It's Mel Caceres. Corner kick. Jada Wyman, a couple of saves in a row.
Caceres has changed this game so far for the Wanderers. What a half-time substitution. Really smart turn off the shoulder. Little change of weight, change in direction. She's absolutely lost her defender, Holman, on that occasion, and Jada Wyman called into action.
Here comes the corner from Apostolakis. This one to the far post. Good catch from Wyman. And that's how her game has developed over the years. Remember, she's only 23 years old. Tonight is game number 81. When she first started in the league race, those sort of crosses, there's no way she would have been plucking them so confidently out of the sky. But it just goes to show how she has been able to advance and develop her game in the Liberty 8.
It was a strong grab. I spoke as well about Jada Wyman spending a bit of time with the Matildas ahead of their camp, ahead of the World Cup, and the confidence she would have gained from that experience, the sharpness, which has really only been called into action in this second half.
It's been a really good spell for the Wanderers, but now they need some reward. They need to raise the stakes here. Gordon deflected to Chisari. Rue in space. Can Kush LaRue find the right cross? Holman takes the ball away. And Shea Holman, vital one-on-one defending there. Fenton hurried. Chisari. Caceres. Now Gordon. Abini used her frame really well to protect the ball there. Princess Abini. Now 18 Keane in a scrap with Madison Bukomski. Goes in on Gordon. Foul given. Free kick going Wanderers' way. And 18 Keane is going to pick up a yellow card for her trouble.
I've got to say the last couple of passages really have been a scrap. Late tackles, just that reaching leg from Keane. No doubt she didn't mean the challenge, but nonetheless, well and truly got the foot of Beth Gordon on that occasion.
So a long-range free kick coming up for Madison Bukomski. Keane, the latest player in the book. Bukomski going for distance. Puts it right onto the head of Lucy Johnson. Chisari. Vicky Bruce. Fenton wins the header. And now at ground level is able to hold off Kush LaRue. Don't be fooled, those two are actually quite good friends, but you put those sort of things aside when it's a Sydney derby. Errant pass here from Chimeth. Bethany Gordon goes for glory, and with it going out for a goal kick, we do have Glenn Lauder down on the sidelines now. Glenn.
Yes, Teo, been doing plenty of laps up and down the touchline here. The good news for Sydney FC is that Nat Tobin is back out of the dressing rooms. She's on crutches. She's still getting lots of treatment. We don't have a definitive answer on the injury. She's going for MRI scans tomorrow, but you would say that the body language, she was in tears as she went off the field on the stretcher. Ante Juric went over to console her. Her body language hasn't improved a whole amount, so fingers crossed that those MRI scans tomorrow aren't as bad as anyone fears.
Thank you, Glenn. Wanderers continue their pursuit of a road back into this game as we tick down to 15 minutes of regulation to go. No change to the halftime score. Chimeth is down again. She's playing everyone onside at the moment. And perhaps Lucy Johnson has done her a solid there by winning a foul. Chimeth's going to need treatment, and in this interval, Grace, I've been handed a note that tells me that we have passed 11,000 fans in attendance here at Allianz Stadium tonight. 11,471.
Well, what an incredible occasion for the A-League Women's, for this competition in its 16th season. A record-breaking crowd, and off the back of what was such a monumental Women's World Cup, that's a very special night.
And in terms of today, 5,700 up the road in Gosford means that it is 17,000 fans through the gates for Liberty A-League matches on a single day at standalone games, not double headers. These fans are here to see the Liberty A-League and nothing else, and it is a special, special day.
Oh, it fills my heart with joy hearing that, Teo. 17,000 fans in one day for the Liberty A-League. That's eyes on our game. That's eyes on these wonderful players, and the F3 derby up the road earlier this afternoon, the Central Coast back in the league after many, many years, and really momentous times in our game.
So it's 2,000 up on last season's grand final. And set yourself for what's coming up later tonight, 10 p.m. on 10 Play and Paramount Plus. It's going to be Perth Glory hosting Western United, and then 2 games tomorrow. Adelaide versus Canberra, and also Melbourne Victory taking on the Brisbane Roar. And, sorry, 3 games tomorrow. Wellington Phoenix against Melbourne City. Don't forget the Phoenix. Exciting triple header. Tory Tumeth has received more treatment and is going to be coming back. No thoughts of making another sub for Sydney FC. We already mentioned how they had no spare defenders on their bench. So Tumeth is going to have to really gut this one out. Apostolakis. Harrison now. Combination of Fenton and Lucy Johnson were able to win the ball. Harrison back in though. Fenton's having none of it. Great strength on the ball. And now continues the run. Ibini. Johnson. That was not so much her problem as Ibini playing the pass straight into a 1-on-2, and Wanderers win the ball away.
You mentioned earlier, too much in defensive stocks for Sydney FC. Margot Chevet not in the matchday squad today, but a versatile player who can play in both defence and midfield.
Harding, first cross blocks. McLean sticking to her like glue here. Apostolakis got to be aware of a Beanie coming from the blind side, and that may have just put off the pass at the last second. Another sub getting ready to come on, and this one, Robbie Hooker, when he was at a fan forum, mentioned how Wanderers no longer want to be losing players to Sydney FC. They want them to go on the same trajectory that Claire Hunt did to clubs like Paris Saint-Germain. We'll stay with play here as Matos plays it back to Kaylee Collins, but not so subtly referring perhaps to the fact that the latest of those players will stay with Aideen Keane here. Felled, no foul. Sydney trying to find a third, put this derby out of reach. Princess Ibini, just a heightened level play from Sydney for a brief moment. It's out for a goal kick, but the latest player to jump across that divide is Sienna Silvestre here, who is about to be subbed on, along with Taylor Ray, who herself is making her Liberty A-League debut from her 3rd ACL reconstruction. Shay Holman and Tory Tumeth are the 2 players coming on, so let's see how they improvise here without Tumeth and Tobin. Great moment for Taylor Ray coming back, and Sienna Silvestre is actually the most recent Western Sydney Wanderer to score a goal. She scored in their last home and away game of the season against Western United. It's her one and only Liberty A-League goal. Now she finds herself wearing sky blue.
Well, this may be a slight shuffling of the deck chairs. We'll have a look in a moment or two, but really, really pleasing to see Taylor Ray back out on the football field for Sydney FC. Such a smart, composed midfielder. And 2, Sienna Silvestre, young player, really technical. I'm really excited to see what she can do for the Sky Blues.
Wanderers have got to be careful here. Aideen Keane is starting to cause headaches. Silvestre, Courtney Vine! Well, it's been a subdued second half for Courtney Vine, but Wanderers gifted her a look there, but Kaylee Collins was equal to the shot.
Good early touches from Silvestre. It set up nicely for Vine. She hit it well too.
Into the final 10 minutes of regulation then. Same scoreline as the last time the 2 teams met. Same pattern of scoring. 2-0 at half-time, 2-0 at full-time. Will that be different tonight? See the foul here, Lucy Johnson.
A little bit of a tired tackle there from Lucy Johnson. I think she's otherwise had a great performance this evening. Really composed, slotted into this Sydney FC midfield.
She's the textbook definition of a quiet achiever, Lucy Johnson. I would go and commentate her games in the NPL when she was playing for South Melbourne, and you often wouldn't notice her. And then when Newcastle took the gamble on her, it became apparent very quickly. She has a magnificent engine. And you mentioned it's a tired tackle. Lucy Johnson, if they were running until they dropped out there, she'd probably be the last one to go. Her endurance would be up there amongst the best in the league.
I think you've described a holding midfielder in the very best way. You don't always notice them, but when they're not there, you certainly do. And Lucy Johnson, I think she's been tireless tonight.
Western Sydney Wanderers, do they have one last burst in them? They're going to make a change here, and it's one of their attackers, Malia Morris. She's only signed 2 weeks ago, so came in late in pre-season. The 22-year-old on the books of the Orlando Pride, also played college at Clemson. She's going to come on here for Cush LaRue. So the American Morris is on. Rue's tough night is over. Interestingly, Gemma Ferris is coming on here for Amy Harrison. So Ferris, who we saw debut as a centre-back last season in the Liberty A-League, but does have the ability to play in midfield, the 19-year-old. And that looks like it's where they've sent her here. So a new test for Gemma Ferris and an introduction to the Liberty A-League for Malia Morris.
Really interested to see what Malia Morris can do this evening. And Ferris as well, a really talented young player. It's great to see her get some minutes.
And that swell of cheering in the crowd is because it's just been announced that Liberty A-League standalone game record of 11,471, besting even last year's grand final tally, has been announced to this fantastic crowd, which has been our soundtrack of the evening tonight. Grace, I dare say the pull factor will be bringing plenty more through the gates, because so many people are going to want to get in on an experience like the one that these lucky fans have had tonight.
I certainly hope so. It's been a real joy to be here at Allianz Stadium.
Caceres. Oh. And for a goal kick, just anticlimactic in the end. He's made a great case to start, but injuries have been the story of her career, Mel Caceres.
She certainly made an impact off the bench at half-time, though. A good substitute from Robbie Hooker. She's injected the energy that the Wanderers needed. Just looked a little out of control in that first half, but Caceres has turned things around and has spent a lot more time in there attacking third.
Johnson, caught in possession by Cesari. A battle ensues, and it's Cesari who gets the nod. First touch off the bench. Ray. Now Seveska. Foster-Larkis ran out of space against the touchline. Clock starting to become the enemy of Wanderers. 5 minutes of regulation to go now.
Has been a much improved second half from the Wanderers. They've stepped a little higher, put more pressure on Sydney's defence. Asked a few more questions of Jada Wyman.
Both teams have subbed on every available outfielder they have to them. No more changes for the players in blue or red and black. Blocked by Harding. If this result does hold here, Grace, Sydney FC will improve in 23 Sydney derbies to 19 wins, 2 draws and 2 losses. But they've never really blown the Wanderers away on this now 8-game streak of not having conceded. 3-0, 3-0, 2-0, 2-0, a 0-all draw, 1-0, 2-0, and then tonight 2-0. So at half-time, Wanderers might have been worried that the record books were in trouble, but funnily enough, the last time Wanderers both scored and won the Sydney Derby is still the record difference 5-0.
I'm sure the Wanderers would love to see that scoreline come back around again, but it has been for the most part a controlled Sydney FC performance, particularly that first 45 minutes, you'd have to say.
Harding chasing, left a boot in on McLean, no foul. Bruce. Matos flicks it on to Gordon. Kruger's there, but Gordon back in to win the ball. Ferris. Ferris making space in midfield, ambitious pass, intercepted by Fenton. Now Seveska. Caught in possession by Caceres. Now it's Alexia Apostolakis who is down. Hanging in the turf. It could just be a cramp of her own though. Play continues. Matos. Johnson is there. Alexia Apostolakis is stretching, so don't be too worried about her going down here. Trying to run it off.
I've seen a few players just feel the effect of cramp and not up to full match fitness yet. It has been a really warm day here in Sydney today. Nice cool evening for football, but I saw both Tumeth and Apostolakis like having that match fitness, understandably so. First match of the season.
Ambitious driving pass here from Morris. Harding caught Lemon, but the touch balloons out for a goal kick. And that will take us into the last minute of the 90. Sydney FC continuing to hold this 2-0 lead. Caceres. Harding. Malia Morris. What she got, Malia Morris here. Straight into 2 defenders. Now Lemon. Fine. Straight back to Abby Lemon. Courtney Vine again. Line and hugs. Bottom of the 18, Keane pulls up. I think the real work is about to start for Courtney Vine. It's going to be all the autographs and selfies after the game.
No doubt there'll be a lot of fans wanting to say hi to Courtney Vine, get a photo.
It's fantastic to see how her star has shot up. She's going to be a draw card all around the country this season. 7 minutes of additional time, so maybe one last roll of the dice is worth it here for Western Sydney Wanderers. Apostolakis with those cramps. She's moving freely now as she runs to the bench. On comes Liv Price. Olivia Price, a former Sydney FC player. 96 appearances now, so she's getting closer and closer to joining the 100 club.
A really experienced campaigner is Liv Price. Perhaps a little unlucky not to start the game. Some of her form in recent years. Just a really tidy player, simple.
She handed the captain's armband there to Vicky Bruce. I suspect when Amy Harrison came off, she may not have handed it to someone else, so it was sitting on the bench for about 10 minutes. Still, we're already 1 of 7 additional minutes ticked by, and the ball is down the right end as far as Sydney FC are concerned. What are your expectations for Sydney FC this season, Grace? I mean, it was the focus of your conversation pre-game with Ante Juric about what comes next. And club develops Matildas. They are now starting to sell players overseas. Remy Simpson, Charlie Rule, Sarah Hunter, Mackenzie Hawkesby. They're becoming quite a production line, but what is actually next? Is it just stay at the top, don't get knocked off the perch? Is it the pursuit of an unbeaten season? Stay with this phase of play here. Sophie Harding. Bit of bash and crash there for Bruce and Keane. Price, an immediate impact. Harding. Harding. Shot it straight into the legs of Charlotte McLean. Now Chisari. Caceres. No foul. Play continues. Sarah Kruger only got Silvesca in support. And Silvesca is able to wriggle clear. Listen to the crowd swell. I thought that Silvesca was to go on a mazy run there, not to be. End-to-end stuff at the end of the night. Tired players everywhere. Who can exploit the gaps? Morris. Gemma Ferris. And now Chisari again. Malia Morris. Weaving, shooting, and Jana Wyman is equal to it.
End-to-end indeed in his last few minutes. I think in answer to your question, Teo, it's just about continual improvement for Ante Juric. Had 12 players leave in the off-season, and how you go about building a squad around those new players who have come in, replacing the quality that is left, developing some of the young players. You're right, it has been a production line for this Sydney FC team and improved their quality year in, year out, and no doubt Ante Juric is going to want to just continue that.
I guess tonight and tomorrow, we'll maybe get a look at the main competitors that will be chasing, that will be the Hunters this season. They're the three Melbourne teams, maybe Perth Glory, maybe Canberra. I'm only saying this because you're here next to me, Grace. I think I had them 7th on my ladder prediction. Now, you've got to respect Canberra. They were so close to the finals last season, and of course, one of the big stories this season, Grace. Talk about a big crowd tonight. If Michelle Heyman goes into a game on 99 A-League women's goals this season, everyone is going to want to be there. She's starting the season on 96, so she is so close to becoming the first player in this competition's history to get to the magical 100-goal milestone.
You can never write off a team that has Michelle Heyman involved. All-time leading appearance maker in the A-League, all-time leading goal scorer.
Morris, Wanderers continuing to press. Can they leave with a goal for their hard work here in the second half? They've shown their fans enough that perhaps not all is lost amid perceived chaos from the outside this season. There are plans. They've just been adopted very late in pre-season. Abby Lemon, lots of space to exploit here. Plays the early ball. Keane. Vine in the middle. Just wide of the post. Vine thinks it was a corner. And the referee in the middle agrees.
There's a good delivery from Keane. Nice early ball. You can see the thumbs up from Courtney Vine. She liked it too. Good shape. Just evading the defenders. Courtney Vine couldn't quite direct it goalward, but it did take a nick for Wanderers defender.
So many Courtney Vine signs in the crowd. That's the effect Matilda superstar can have. Deflection here. It will be another corner. One last curly question for you, Grace. Player of the match. I'd love to know. You're not giving the Dolan votes for this one, are you? No? Good. So we're not compromising anything if I get you player of the match. Of course, last season's winner, Alex Chidiac, no longer in the league. One more corner for Sydney FC. We've ticked into the final minute of additional time. Can they score a goal for the road? Kruger. Collins was there with Keane. And it beat both of them. Lucy Johnson. Silvesca turns onto that preferred left foot. Silvesca. And the crowd, depending on where you were sitting, that might have been heading for the corner. we watched it go agonisingly wide.
A delightful turn from Sienna Silvestre. Got a little glimpse of her class. Turned on a dime. Struck that nicely on her left foot. And see how closely it did look from the bench in particular.
So, player of the match, Grace?
To be honest, I've been really impressed by Kirsty Fenton tonight. I think she had an excellent first half. The goal aside, she's been relentless.
And that will probably be one of the big takeaways out of tonight's derby. Kirsty Fenton got the party started. Fiona Works scored in her first showing for Sydney FC. Wanderers' search for a derby goal extends to 8 consecutive games. And Sydney FC, the defending premiers and champions, continue where they left off. It's all smiles for Courtney Vine at full-time, and a big congratulations to Kirsty Fenton. Wanderers, a good showing in the second half, but still no goal to show for it. But certainly don't throw the baby out with the bathwater after this one. They will get better, the team in red and black. A night where the Liberty A-League crowd record was broken, and an experience here that I doubt any of the fans who attended will forget. It finishes Sydney FC 2, Western Sydney Wanderers 0. And so, as we reflect on this one, don't forget the analysis show, Dub Zone, on 10 play at the end of the round, 8:30 tomorrow. It'll wrap all the big talking points. And Glenn Lauder is down at pitch level, ready with Princess Avini.
Thank you very much, Teo. Yeah, happy Princess Savini. First game, first win. But Princess, you guys had to do it the hard way in the second half.
Yeah, it was very professional performance from us in the second half. But we got the job done in the end, and that's all that matters.
First half an hour or so, was it all about coming out tonight and really being clinical early?
Yeah, it was definitely. That's what we always aim to do. So had to get the 2 goals in the first half and keep the clean sheet.
Obviously, in that second half, a lot of things, as I said, you had to overcome. Nat Tobin going off, how much of a concern would that be for your club moving forward?
Yeah, look, we hope Nat's okay. We'll just wait for the results and hopefully she's fine. But anyone that comes in can do a job, and yeah, we have great players.
All right, Princess, well done tonight.
Thank you.
So happy Princess Abini. As I said, Sydney FC had to do a lot of work in the second half because Western Sydney came out in the second half full of fire. Mel Caceres, you came on at half-time. What was the message to you at half-time to try to change that game?
Yeah, I think we came out a little bit slow at the beginning, and I guess I was just told to come on and bring a bit more energy. I think we're giving them a little bit too much respect in the first half, but the second half we really stepped up, and I think that showed in our performance.
Yeah, it has been a tough couple of weeks. So how hard is it to get out there straight away and go from the off? Were you happy that you got into the game?
Yeah, I mean, obviously as a player, you're always itching to be on the field. It's always nice to obviously start in big games like this, but I was on a little bit of limited minutes tonight, and I'm just happy that I was able to get on the field and hopefully make an impact in the game. So, yeah, happy with that, but disappointing result, obviously.
I guess as a team, are you happier with the way you finished than the way you started? And does that give you momentum moving forward?
Yeah, 100%. I think we finished the game quite strong. The second half was really good from us. We've had a few changes, obviously, with coaching staff, so we've really just looked to embrace, you know, the new coach and his new philosophy, and I think we'll go well in the season if we do that.
Thanks for talking to us, Mel.
Perfect, thank you.
Sydney FC get their title defence off to a very good start. A derby victory in front of a record crowd at Allianz Stadium. We'll wrap it all up for you. We'll break it down on the post-game show. That's coming up next, right here on 10 and Paramount Plus.